radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right. Well, I've got audio. Now I've lost video, and it is what it is. I don't know what is going on with everything, but the audio is working, and now I just don't have video. Windows 11. So I guess we're going to go old school tonight, and we're just going to go audio. Yeah, what can you do? I'll figure it out tomorrow. But this is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Welcome to everybody that is listening all around the world. It's just an audio night tonight. This is kind of cool. This is old school. This is like real radio now. Yeah, man. And that's it. We're just going to move on. And let's see here. I'm just going to pop this in. I've lost the webcam. Got audio though. Okay. So that's it. We're just going we've got a show to do tonight. And we've got to get straight to it, and we'll have all this sussed out tomorrow. It's Windows 11, and watching everything reset, which is a bizarre thing. Everything else in the settings were done, and then boom. So there you go. But we're running over here. We're running there. Yeah. Okay. So that means I don't have to worry about my hair. Yeah, I don't have to worry about anything tonight. And baby, it's just not working. No, it's not. It's not. It's not even lit up over here. See, that's the strange thing. It's not even lit up. Camera's not even lit up. So there you go. Okay. Wow, man, all of what I wanted to, I had so much stuff to talk about tonight, all the breaking news and stuff, but I don't have to do any of that. But one of the things that happened yesterday, we were out in my backyard, and I was in the backyard with Brad and Michelle Harris and Nurse Nancy yesterday. And Brad looks up and says, "What is that?" And I go and look, and I see this plane, and he goes, "No, behind the plane, behind the exhaust from the plane." And then I saw it. There was this little light, a little prick of light in the blue sky. This was at about 1:15 in the afternoon. Break out the binoculars. We're all looking at it, and then kind of went away and then came back. But anyway, so I'm looking at it through the binoculars, and it looked like, to me, it had a little bit of a trail coming off the top of it. Kind of looked like a comet that was coming down, but it wasn't moving. And but it was there. It was there, and the trail was a very slight. So I'm not even sure about that. And it was such a tiny spot of light up in the sky. Later on that afternoon, yesterday, I'm on. I get an alert on Twitter, and it said, "Jimmy, at 1:40, did you see east heading west? I'm in Las Vegas, a bright light in the sky," which was at the same time we saw this. And so I don't know how bright it was over in Vegas or what have you, but this was, and I turned to Brad, and Nancy was there, and we couldn't shoot video of it. And see, that was the other thing. As long as we looked at it, it kept going away, and it was so tiny that we kept losing it. I could see it in the binoculars. It would have been impossible to shoot video, but I never even got a chance to shoot video. But I turned to Brad, and I said, "This is a real sighting." Not to say that others aren't real sightings. I don't quite mean it like that. But this is bona fide. Whatever that is an object in the sky. And just stayed right there. Didn't move. It was unbelievable. And then for me later, I walked in the house and said to myself out loud, I said, we just saw something. And to see this alert on Twitter yesterday afternoon at the same time, I think that's what it said, 1:40, 1:30. We saw it at about 1:15. And did you see anything in the sky? I would love to hear from all of you. Okay, with that, I'm going to take a quick break. Tonight, there's no webcam. Webcam is down. I'll see if I can fire it up during the break, but we'll see what happens. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight on the show, Jonny Enoch is here. It is Christmas week. He's here to give us a complete world update on all things unexplained. We're going to be doing that all night tonight. Tomorrow night, we're doing our annual Fader Christmas special. And then I'm taking the rest of the week off. That's right, it's Christmas weekend. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer and UnX Networks. I'll be right back with our guest tonight, Jonny Enoch. I'll see if I can get this webcam going. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at wtih.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
The new KUNXDB, the UNX Network, bringing you the best in paranormal programming in premium, high-definition streaming audio and video. Log on to the network at unxnetwork.com and check out the growing lineup of programs, including Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and many more. Sign up for the free UNX newsletter, follow the UNX blog, or pick up the latest edition of the UNX magazine. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. So check us out at unxnetwork.com. Tap the show page and the calendar so you never miss your favorite live shows and podcasts. We are your portal for all things paranormal. The X, explaining the unexplained.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Man, oh man. Tonight, it is Christmas week. And tonight, kicking it off, Jonny Enoch is with us. We're going to be talking about all that unexplained stuff from around the world. UFOs, technology, and the state of our planet. We're going to be doing that tonight, see what else he's been up to. He's a world traveler. He's international. Tomorrow night is our Fader Christmas special that we do every year. We're going to do that. And then Wednesday and Thursday, I'm taking the nights off. I don't do that often. I've only done that a couple of times in the last 9 years. I just don't take time off. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to recharge and then circle back and be right back here on Monday. But tonight it's Jonny Enoch, and his groundbreaking research has been featured in numerous interviews, articles, has been well received at conferences. His goal is to prepare the public for full disclosure and create a peaceful future that includes space exploration and the development of consciousness-based sciences. He's also shooting television all the time. He's out there getting it done. Just got back from Europe. He is over here on the West Coast, but on the Canada side of the northern border. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Jonny Enoch. Johnny, got your Fade to Black shirt on, man. How you doing?
I'm good, Jimmy, and thanks for the intro. That was amazing. I wish I could have that introduction every time I walked into a room.
Well,
it's so good to be here, and I just love talking to you and the Fader Nods. It's Christmas time.
Yeah, can you believe it? How cold is it up there?
It's about 0 degrees Celsius. Well, you're in California, so it's probably like shorts weather.
Yeah, no, actually, it's very, very cold. I mean, very cold. I was with some friends this weekend, and I noticed a couple of things. Well, not because of the friends, but they were commenting about the frost. And I went outside like 3 nights in a row here at around midnight, 11 o'clock at night. Ice on the windshields. And I'm in the Mojave Desert. Yeah, I had dead grass in the front yard from frost overnight. Yeah.
That's unheard of. The Beach Boys don't sing songs about that, Jimmy.
No, I'm looking at your face. You're so confused right now. I'm just as confused. It doesn't make any sense. Well, last week, and I told everybody about this, Johnny. From my backyard, I can't see the mountains. But from my front yard, I can. So I was out back. I was drinking coffee. I'm just doing my thing. I walk out the front door. There was a knock at my front door. And so I went and answered and did my thing. And I walk out of front, and the mountains right here, a mile from my house, covered in snow. Wow. White. And I just stopped and enjoyed the moment. And it lasted for about 2 days. No snow out there now, though. That was, we had a bunch of rain and snow that came through. But yeah, it's very strange.
We just had snow here, too. But here's the thing. The sun is doing some strange stuff right now. When you look over at British Columbia, Canada, up near Vancouver, we just had these atmospheric rivers coming up, raining so hard that they flooded out all of our freeways, broke them in half, shut down the airports. We still have roads shut down. And you know what? It's done this before, but it's doing it right now in the east coast of Australia. They got the same weather.
And we had that atmospheric, they were talking about it down here, that this was going to move in, and there was this thing. Well, we did. We had about 3 or 4 days of huge rain. Now, we need it here. We need the rain. There's no question that we need to replace a lot of drought, and there's a lot of missing water here. So we welcome that, and I love the rain. But we got it, man. We got it about 3 days in a row. Now, and the news was making it out like it was going to be. Now, I know Northern California and then up through where you are, Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, you guys got it really, really bad. And I heard the reports. I heard the reports coming out of Vancouver. You guys had freeways that were broken in half and bridges.
Yeah, you couldn't go anywhere. But I thought this place was turning into Atlantis for a second. But it's we're in a new era. It's an exciting time to be alive. There's all kinds of shifts going on and changes. But Jimmy, here's the thing. We actually got it pretty good. This is the safest it's ever been on the earth. People like to talk about these temperature changes, and all the things that are happening, but in the last 10,000 years, it's only gotten 2 degrees warmer overall. And do you know the most dangerous and most terrible year that it was to be alive in human history?
If I was going to take a guess, I don't know, the Dark Ages, Black Plague.
Very, very good. Okay, so let's go to 536 CE.
Yeah.
We're told that there's like volcanoes going off over in Indonesia and Iceland, strange things. And, this is where our King Arthur story comes from.
That's right.
When Guinevere leaves and they say the kingdom went dark, they had 18 months of darkness, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so strange because crops wouldn't grow.
That's right.
They had, it was miserable. It was cold. There was famines, the bubonic plague. I mean, that was a terrible time across Europe, across Egypt. They must have thought they angered the gods.
Yeah. Could you imagine, Johnny? I want to talk about you. And we're going to get to you in just a second. But can you imagine, we take penicillin and antibiotics for granted today. We do. But that's a new thing. Can you imagine getting a toothache and then dying? Right? Right?
Well,
I mean, and just any little infection, and then the next thing you know, wait, it's just a fingernail. We got to cut your arm off. What? You know what I mean? That's what they went through.
Yeah, well, here's what I want your listeners to think about, Jimmy. I want them to think about this, is that when you look around today, something is proportionally off. Look at the technology we have. You're talking to me instantly. I can see you on video. We're listening to you around the world. People are picking this up. How many Fadernauts do you think are listening right now?
22. About 22. I think, 22. A couple dozen.
Only 22? I think it's a lot more than that, Jimmy. You got a lot of fans.
But let's get to your point.
No, my point is this. We have disproportionate technology. We almost don't know what to do with it. And we're about 100 years ahead of where we should be. And the point is this. Let's go back to, let's say, the late 1300s. Have you ever heard of the black ships of China, the treasure ships?
Yes.
Okay, there's this guy, just so the listeners can know, there's this guy named Zhang He. He's from the Ming Dynasty, and he has these enormous ships coming out of China. And these things are, made for going around and making a map. They're out for scouting places. They say this is the guy that discovered Australia. He had eunuchs on them. And these things were the size of the Titanic. And they operated in a fleet. So they would be like, one of them would have all water inside of it. One of them would have livestock. And it was like its own city on the ocean, would just move this enormous force. Well, we're told that these guys met with the Medici banking family in the early 15th century, and they exchanged the secrets of glass making. This is where the Venetian glassmakers learned how to make the mirror. They exchanged secrets with people, just like these guys that we were told, these Atlantean missionaries that maybe went out in the world and helped people. Well, not much changed, man, from what you were talking about. People died. Mm-hmm. You go from the 1300s to 1400s, not much change.
Right. Keep going.
You go to the 1500s, man. You go to the time of even Henry VIII. People are still riding around on horses. They're dying at about 45 years of age. Yeah, I mean, that was considered old if you lived to be 45. Yeah, people got all kinds of diseases and sicknesses. They were getting married and having children when they were teenagers. Even 1600s, 1700s, we still were riding around on horses, not doing much. But something happened right around the 1940s, around the 1950s. And this is a time we're told, things like Roswell and crashes just around that period. Have you ever heard of Colonel Corso, the day after Roswell?
I have.
I figured you had. I mean, you've been doing this subject for so long. I mean, you've been in the ufology world. So, for people listening, they probably already know this or they've heard this, that, Corso and those that were out there were leaking out stuff like nitinol, memory metal, nickel and titanium. Yep. They were leaking out, to Silicon Valley and other places. We got transistors and LEDs and, the list goes on of all the help we had. And speaking of that, I mean, what do we use it for today? We're using it for Christmas lights. But we have this help, yet there we are struggling for so long. We just had this jump ahead of things. And it's just crazy to see how far we've come in a short period of time.
I think that if we stop and just examine how much life has progressed from 20,000 years ago to 1950, right? 20,000 years ago to 1950. And from 1950 to 2021, I bet from 1950 to 2021, our technology has gone 1,000 times further than we did the previous 20,000 years. And that's a crazy concept to wrap our head around. But that's where we are at. If you took somebody from... Okay, let's just do some quick math here. If you took somebody from the year 0, right, Cleopatra, the time of Jesus, whatever, let's just call it year 0, and you place them into the year 1900, they wouldn't freak out. I mean, you still got horses, right? You still got candlelight. You've got fires. Electricity just coming in and trains and stuff. But they still understand. They know what boats are and ships and horses and stuff. But if you took somebody from 1900, right, and put them into the year 2020, they would lose their friggin' mind. They wouldn't know what to do. I mean, and that's where we are today. And I think we've come that far in the last 50, 60 years. Probably 1,000 times more than we have learned in 20,000 years.
Yeah, well, I think our prehistoric civilizations were highly advanced. It's my opinion. I believe they had technology that we can't even understand. And we're just beginning to understand. And I do think that when you talk about things like Atlantis, you talk about things like, for the lack of better terms, we'll call it Lemuria, which is an amazing subject. That there could have been civilizations there for millions of years. And guys like Rudolf Steiner, he had this anthroposophy, which was this kind of remote viewing thing that he developed to be able to uncover, sciences and agriculture and advancements in things that, sort of like in a way Edgar Cayce would. He was looking at the Atlantean epoch and believed they had even, we go back into like the developments they had. Edgar Cayce said that they had submarines and flying machines and things like that.
Right. And so you have the civilizations around the world, the different cultures, and then you had those educating them. So you are out there constantly trying to bring in math and geometry and engineering and music and law and culture, and you're trying to bring this in and teach everybody. And that's the thing, right? It was a constant game of catch up, and then those civilizations with those teachers started to fall apart and implode, and it happened over and over again. And it wasn't just Atlantis, and it wasn't just Lemuria, and it wasn't just Egypt, right? All these cultures imploded, but look what happened to the Roman Empire. And that's why the Dark Ages happened, because Rome collapsed, and there wasn't anybody left to teach and to keep structure and to record history. That's why they call it the Dark Ages. There wasn't anybody left to record and write things down. That part of history is missing. So it's not just Atlantis. We've had it in modern times as well.
Yeah, no, they did go through a collapse, and you got these amazing, developments during the Roman Empire that came up. But you had these guys like Julius Caesar, when the famous story about him crossing the Rubicon. You had Tiberius Caesar, Caligula, all these guys that were drunk on the psychosis of success, and they say it was the barbarians and all these things that took them down, and the Visigoths and these strange kind of events that took place. But, there's always been this idea, in the mystery teachings, that we have the symbolism of the phoenix, the Phoenician firebird, that is these civilizations, they rise and fall from the ashes, that maybe these are orchestrated collapses. Maybe they're being reseeded and brought together. I've always kind of thought that, the Atlanteans that were there before, that we've kind of had their influence maybe from behind the scenes, that maybe there were these groups of a term I heard recently, crypto-terrestrials, that are behind the scenes, that are helping to seed us through the mystery schools.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And if we let's stay right here for a second, because this is a subject that you have covered over and over. We don't get a chance to talk about it that much, but here's the deal. There's no question that at 3000 BC, something happened in Egypt. Something happened. Culture started. It also happened in Mesopotamia, in ancient Sumer. No, there's no question. But the excellence of Egypt at 3000 BC, 2800 BC, 2600 BC, all of the best stuff happened then. There's no question about it. And then there was this downhill trend. By the time Cleopatra, who was the last queen of Egypt, she had forgotten and didn't know about the 3,000 previous years. Amnesia had set in. Egypt should have run the world, right? It should be an Egyptian world today, but that didn't happen. And it goes over and over again with these cultures that make these huge advancements in the arts and the sciences and understanding the mind and consciousness, where the citizens start to get amnesia, right? And I don't understand why we constantly repeat that. Are we in danger of doing that today?
Well, I don't think the Egyptian civilization completely ever went away. It's been argued that the plan for America was seated there. And if you look at the mystery schools, if you look at it like a theocracy, like there was a priestcraft there behind the scenes, they use certain symbolism and certain ideas. Look at how this came to be in certain elements that we saw across Europe, or even how when America was founded. When you look at the bottom of the Statue of Liberty, you see that it's a gift from the French Grand Orient Temple Masons to the first Masonic Republic, which was America. Look at over in Washington, D.C., you have the Washington Monument, which is an obelisk. Everywhere you go, you have obelisks. Memphis, Tennessee. You see the same symbolism repeated again and again and throughout the world. It's almost as it's expanding and growing. And Jimmy, I think that the same thing is happening to us now as we expand and grow outward. Let me ask you something. I want to know your opinion on this. When we talk about, secret societies and groups out there, I'm holding up a book for you right here. And this book, it's by Saint Germain. And are you familiar with Saint Germain the Immortal?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to read this out, just a quick passageway for the listeners, and it's very quick.
Let's hear it.
Okay, this book is called The Most Holy Trina Sophia of the Comte de Saint Germain. Okay, so in French that was La Très Sainte Trina Sophie. And this is in section 5. You guys can look this up. This is just a quick passage if you want to look it up. The velocity with which we sped through space can be compared with naught but itself. In an instant I had lost sight of the plains below. The earth seemed to me only a vague cloud. I had been lifted to a tremendous height. For quite a long time I rolled through space. I saw globes revolve around me and earths gravitate at my feet. Johannes Kepler wrote something very similar to that in the 1600 CE, in the 17th century. He wrote that in his Somnium, the Dream, where he has this fantasy story about taking a trip out into space. He talks about shock acceleration and protective suits, and he makes all these crazy, discoveries out there. So we got to ask ourselves, are these guys who are initiates of the mystery schools, are they using some sort of ability of consciousness, or did they get help? Were they brought out there? What do you think?
Well, it's not written from a science fiction imagination mindset, because that didn't exist back then. So what is it? I mean, the thought of spacesuits or looking at the Earth like that, or moving, the planet moving through space, or them moving through space and observing the Earth from the outside, nobody did back then. I mean, we barely could observe the moon, and everything else was left up to the imagination. I'm talking about Mars and Jupiter and Saturn and Venus. That it's written from experience. It's not written as science fiction. It's not. And I say science fiction like as we understand it today. But if you think about the period of time when that was written, nobody thought about this stuff. Nobody. And that goes back to ancient Sumer and the Anunnaki and what was written in those tablets. That's not from imagination. It's written from a historical perspective. That's it. There isn't another way to look at it, Johnny.
Yeah, Jimmy, there's a lot of stuff that's been hidden on this earth, and there's a lot of knowledge that's been put aside. I I had some conversations with some of my contacts who are involved in academia. They're interested in these subjects and in different crowds in Europe. And some of them are connected to some wealthy families, even royal houses. And what they tell me is that those folks in those positions in the different royal houses, they have a very keen interest in our prehistoric civilizations. And they have an education and knowledge in it that a lot of people aren't privy to. And I don't know if it's because certain folks in the world control the narrative, in certain aspects of the media or education, that they keep that out and keep certain people on archaeological positions on the payroll. Mm-hmm. Because if you were to tell everyone, hey, there's something under the Sahara, there's something under the Gobi, everyone would go rushing there. So if you're going into those spots, but it's interesting because when we look at the mysteries, we have sort of these lost ancient technologies, maybe even a way to look at this as like a classified biology on how maybe certain people have understood a type of life extension using alchemy. And I was going to say, have you ever seen that symbol, Jimmy, that is like two serpents looking away from each other on an Egyptian cartouche?
Yes.
Okay, or you look at the 33rd degree insignia of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. You'll see the two eagle heads, which are really the two phoenixes. So it's very interesting. As we come out of this month, we're going into a month called January, of course. And that comes from where you were just talking about with the Roman Empire. Julius Caesar, as we know, he gave us the Julian calendar, hence why July comes from Julius and August is from Augustus. Well, the month of January comes from Janus, who is this two-headed god. Have you ever seen him? He looks in both directions.
Okay, I'm following you. We've got about 30 seconds, and then we'll pick up when we come back. Go ahead.
Okay, we'll come back after the break on this. But Janus is the keeper of the keys, and it's also where you get the word janitor from. And there's a major clue in this to the mysteries and who was once on this earth.
What? I knew it. The janitor. The janitor knows it all. Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Jonny Enoch. And tonight we're going to do a world update. We're going to go through all things unexplained and the current status of our planet and our world. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the UNX and Game Changer Networks. We'll be right back. More with Jonny after this short break. We're going to pick up with January, Janus, janitor. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, The X.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, I'm Katie and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Windows 11 updates. You think it's smooth? Oh, no. Oh, no. But I think we got things worked out. Our guest tonight, Jonny Enoch. It is Christmas week here on Fade to Black, and tonight Jonny is with us, and we're doing all of those world updates tonight, and we'll get back to that in a second. And then tomorrow night is our annual Fader Christmas special. And I'm going to take some phone calls here from all of you faders, what you asked Santa to bring you this year, and if you've been naughty or nice. We'll do all of that tomorrow night, and I'll have some special guests do some drive-bys. But tonight it's all about Jonny. And Jonny, on your series over at Gaia, Mystery Teachings, are these subjects covered? And I know that you've got a new season coming out, too.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking, Jimmy. These are subjects we cover. So we talk about immortality, Saint Germain, the mystery of the ever-burning lamps. You know, we go into, everything from reincarnation to what we're talking about right now, esoteric symbolism and how it relates to Atlantis and Lemuria. I think that if you like these subjects, if you're interested in these, you're going to love them. So it's out right now. You can binge watch it. A new episode just came out today for Christmas on the Solar Mysteries. Everyone check it out, Mystery Teachings.
Yeah, and I've always enjoyed that and your presentations there. But how do you You just got back from Europe, and this is how I picture things. You're spending a lot of time in Budapest, but the access to Europe is immediate for anybody there. So you're traveling, and you're hooking up with these different researchers out there, and you're collecting information. How do you do that? And how do you strike up a conversation when we're getting to the subjects of the families that run the world, or symbolism and technology and ET, everything that we're going to cover tonight? How do you start those conversations?
It's interesting you should ask that, Jimmy. I could ask the same thing of you, because every time I run into you, I mean, you're having a good time. You're flying around the country. You're meeting fascinating people. I look at it, when the student's ready, the teacher does appear. It's easy for me to live in Europe because my fiance, Zuzana, lives there, and I love it. I mean, we have a wonderful time in Budapest. And when you're in Europe, it's so cheap to fly, let's say, you want to go to Rome, you want to have lunch there, you want to go to Paris. Sometimes the rates are so cheap right now, it's like $10. It's crazy. And you go over there, and there's so much history all around you. And you just kind of, when you put yourself out there, you run into people that share things with you. So I'm always happy to share what I learn. I know you are. And, with this show, Mystery Teachings, I find that it is all those things put together, Jimmy. It's the conversations I have with great friends like you. It's books that you read. It's the travels. You go into Egypt or wherever, and you just pull some symbol out, and it starts to speak to you. So it's a bit of everything. I do want to say, though, before we left the break, this Janus, this double-headed god, it's very relevant to your question, because Janus, which January is named after, is this two-headed god looking in two directions. It's looking at the year that's past, and it's looking at the year that's forward. And the reason why I want to talk about this with Mystery Teachings is this is one of the greatest secrets of the ancient world. And all the masters knew this. And what I mean by that is this god, this Roman god, is actually also based off of this idea that we at one point had giants on the earth. And Madame Blavatsky, who is this remote viewer psychic that some of your listeners probably are well familiar with, when she looked in the ancient past, she called Lemuria, she called it Shamali. And she said basically these folks inhabited the earth at one point, and what we were told is that they're these two-headed giants again. Well, in the original version of Genesis, the Midrash version that the rabbis go to, they never said that Adam and Eve were created from a rib. That was a later adaptation. The story is that there was an androgyne of Genesis, and this androgyne of Genesis, if you look this up, you'll see it. It's in Genesis. It was this two-headed giant that was called Adam, A-D-M, the Adamic race. Adam was never just a man and that you see Adam and Eve. Adam was a race of people, and it said that they were hermaphrodites. So they had male and female in the same body until they were cut in half. They were split in two. And when they were like this, the Elohim geneticists said to them, regenerate yourself, replenish yourself. You could recreate yourself. This was an alchemical secret, just like the scarab is hermaphrodite in nature. And so when you look at the secret societies, you see the Templars had the Baphomet. The Baphomet was this goat-headed nature god that Eliphas Levi talked about that later was villainized. People said, oh, it's the devil and all this sort of stuff. It had breasts and it had a phallus. It literally had male and female features. If you look at Akhenaten, and I know you're very familiar with Akhenaten. Akhenaten is a strange character, Amenhotep IV. We're told all kinds of interesting things that this talking disc told him, basically get out of Dodge and go to Armana, right?
Yes.
When you go to the Cairo Museum, you look at Akhenaten, it looks very strange. Number one, he and his family have these elongated skulls in their portrayals. Number two, he has the features of every man on earth, all the races and everything. He's basically got, he's more or less got breasts and the hips of a woman. Now, why did he portray himself like that? Well, Akhenaten's favorite god was this god in Egypt called Hapi, Happi. And Hapi is this androgynous hermaphrodite-like god that's pouring water into the Nile, and it's the exact depiction of the star card of the tarot cards, which is Aquarius. This is an androgynous god. And this is the androgynous nature of the universal spirit. So in the mysteries, if you portray two serpents facing out, this means immortality has been attained, that you are the two-headed, replenishing, self-regenerating, godlike alchemical beings. If the serpents or whatever you're looking at, the eagles, the phoenixes, if they're looking inwards, this means you're seeking immortality still. So this is a clue to the secrets that we had. And I believe that all these lost ancient civilizations, our religions, our astronomy, alchemy, the stuff that came down into Egypt, all these places, all came back from Atlantis, all came back from the ancient progenitors.
Now, I'm looking at images of Janus here. Now, first off, I've just learned something. I did not know that about January. And here it is, Janus, the god of January. Two faces, looking at the past and looking at the future. I did not know this. And when you think about January being the first month of the year, obviously you're looking at the previous year and you're looking at the year ahead from the first month, and that makes a lot. I never knew this before.
It's crazy because when we look at religions, we look at all these things, we have to look at them like a science. We really can't just dismiss them. There's all kinds of secrets encoded in them, right?
Apparently so. Now, I did not know this. I'm looking at all of the imagery here of Janus, and it is all the same. And this has been going on since, well, it's all Roman. Is this BC?
Yeah, well, Julius Caesar, he gave us the Julian calendar. So this concept, though, is very ancient. This is probably the most ancient concept of the mystery teachings. And this is the concept of alchemy, too. If you look at the Ankh, which is the key of life, you have the sun rising over the horizon, or you have the phallus coming up and you have the uterus or the womb. This is the same as the Rosicrucians. They came along and just Christianized that whole system and gave it a Christian overlay to preserve it. And it's the same thing that you see the phallus coming up, and the rose in the middle is the Holy Spirit, or the Shekinah, Kina. It's a feminine aspect, and it's bringing the dew out. This is all about regenerating ourselves from the inside and bringing things together. But we've had all kinds of life forms on this planet. I think people would be very surprised if they researched that over 500,000 years ago there were humans in the Americas, and they started discovering that in the 1960s, and that was shut down. We've had all kinds of groups here.
Now, you made a comment earlier, about Egypt founding different cultures and countries around the world. And there's evidence of that in Australia. There's evidence of that here in the United States, certainly. There's evidence of that all over Europe. And then you've got Africa, too, as well. There is evidence of that. But how do you think that was possible? Do you think was Egypt truly transoceanic, or was this something that predated even all of that and goes back to Atlantis, and that's where the communication and teachings were spread?
I think so. Well, first of all, what we call Atlantis, we just say we call it Atlantis because of what was behind the Atlas Mountains and what was out there. You got guys like Ignatius Donnelly, Madame Blavatsky, Manly P. Hall. They all thought Atlantis was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. But I would like people to think bigger than that. I want them to think Pangea. I want them to think this was a global dissemination of culture, a great continental diffusion everywhere. And I would suggest that people go back and look at the first, the first discovery of that thing that we call Lemuria. Well, first of all, that where the Lemuria theory came from in modern day was this guy named Philip Sclater, and it was around 1864. He writes this paper on the mammals of Madagascar. And he goes, okay, look, we go to Lemuria there, this theory, he goes, because these lemurs, he finds them over in Madagascar, but he can't find them over in the fossils over in India or Africa. And he says, well, there must have been a huge lost continent. But even after this guy writes his paper, he slowly starts to get dismissed. Some people at the time, they took his theory and they embraced it. And they said there's something there. The Tamalian revisionists, they said that in their own literature that they had a history of the people of Tamal did, of a continent in that area that had been around for thousands of years. But with him, they were saying that, okay, that can't be it because there was continental drift, and they were looking at these plate tectonics and stuff at the time. So they're saying, there can't be anything there. Even though it's very interesting that a friend of mine, J.P. Haig, he lives out in Mauritius, and he's a researcher, and he told me that the name Lemur or Lemuria means the lost souls in the ancient Malgache tongue, which is very interesting. So what's crazy about this, if we fast forward it to today, Jimmy, and you listen to what geologists say, you can go look over in the area of Mauritius, and on their beaches in Mauritius, we find these radioactive particles called zircons. And these are billions of years old, a lot older than even we're told that Mauritius itself is. And the gravitational pull of this place is huge. On top of that, on the island of Mauritius, there's these 7 pyramids made out of volcanic materials. And they're aligned with Orion, and nearby there is this sphinx-like configuration of a mountain. Now, when you look further into this, it's just crazy. Geologists now tell us that they believe this was part of a supercontinent, and they say it was called Gondwana. So not only did it include, going up into South America, it included Antarctica, it would have included all the way west from there, outside of Mauritius, you would have had Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea. And it starts to make sense if we look at it like that why when we go into places like Peru, which I know you have a great interest in, when you go up to the area where our friend Brian Forrester is, or up in Lake Titicaca, 12,500 feet above sea level, and there's fossilized seashells in there, fossilized seahorses. Okay, so we know that the Andes are relatively new mountains, and someone managed to get up there quick enough to build walls around the place.
Now, if this was the case, would we have had a centralized starting point for us, for Homo sapiens sapien, or was this something that happened around the world at the same time? Right, that it wasn't just out of Central Africa, that we had cultures that were able to move around very easily, and everything was connected.
Oh, I very much believe that it was connected. The Earth was smaller, first of all. Let's think about this. The Earth was smaller, and even 50,000 years ago, Jimmy, we had less gravity and we had more oxygen. So I mean, they had a lot better conditions. Look at the pyramidal culture we have around the world. I know you know this because you're a pyramid geek and you're looking at these things. I mean that in a good way. You have the pyramids in Egypt with the Great Pyramid of Giza. You go over into the Azorian Islands. You have 140 of them around there. Pyramids in China. Pyramids in the Yucatan. We have pyramids on the west coast of Cuba underwater. We have them in Tikal in Guatemala. No matter where you look, we have this pyramidal culture spread all over the place. And even the ones in Indonesia, or the ones at Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkan, the Teotihuacan ones, they all look a little bit different, but they all have similarities and structures. There's no doubt that this was a system. My personal belief, and I don't know what yours is on it, I think these guys were experimenting with electromagnetic energy and gravity. And I think that they could have done something to the gravitational field and what's around here, like triggering the Younger Dryas cataclysm and maybe others before that, right?
Well, if we had less gravity, which I don't know how much science has proven or looked at this or how they would measure it. But in order for dinosaurs that were 100 feet tall, right, weighing all of this tonnage, there had to have been less gravity. And I don't want to sound like some uneducated. That's the only way to explain it. There's a reason why you and I are not 12 feet tall. But if we had 50,000 years ago less gravity, that would mean we had giants relative to us roaming the earth, right?
Exactly. I don't think dinosaurs are from here. I don't. I know that's a strange thing to say. I just don't think they're from here, and I also don't think octopuses are from here. And I think it's fair to say that things like whales and dolphins probably come from an aquatic planet, but they're so intelligent beyond regular intelligence. But who knows? Maybe octopuses came from 50 billion light years away from here, 700 million years ago or something. They're so strange. Did you see that in the news that they just said that they're giving them these rights, sentient rights in the UK?
Yes. That's it. They are now protected. And of course the papers that were published a couple of years ago about octopi that they're too unique on this planet that they had to have come from somewhere else. They didn't evolve here.
They can change color, a lot of them, and they have these. Yeah, they're very, very advanced. And even like what dolphins can do, they can create this like sonar aspect of a sound, create an echo, and then it creates this imaging so they can move very fast. I believe we have the ability to evolve to that level. And, there's all kinds of interesting things we learn when we look even at nature. But that's an interesting point when you start to see how things are evolving on this planet, Jimmy, because it's, from what I gather in the conversations I get from knowledgeable folks, we seem to be this very interesting experiment in a petri dish. I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere when it comes to space. We're in the backwoods. Have you heard that before?
Yes. So what are they telling you? Who are we the experiment of?
Well, that's actually very interesting. You should say that because how you and I were talking at the beginning of the show that we've had help. We're at least 100 years ahead right now of where we should be, and the reason for that is that let's go back to the 1940s, 1950s. Colonel Corso, day after Roswell.
Right.
We kept guys that we shouldn't have kept. The little ETs. We kept them, and if that group wanted to, they could have wiped us off the face of the earth easily. They could have wiped the floor with us. The only reason they let us keep them without their permission is because those were the little workers, and they let us. But in the 50s, there was a lot of interesting meetings going on, let's just say, with dignitaries and people and religious leaders, and there was different things and shifts going on. But the ETs, let's make no mistake about this right now. Let's just get this out of the way. They have been here the entire time. They have never left. They're among us. And from what I hear, that all the good stuff starts when you leave this area. All the good stuff starts about 10 light years from here. But it gets very, very busy when you go 40 to 50 light years outside of Earth, heading towards Alpha Centauri or Sirius. And then if you go 500 to 1,000 light years from here, there's these countless highly advanced civilizations, I've been told, and it's super busy. It's just like it's going crazy. I asked one of my contacts, that's one of the most knowledgeable guys I go to on these subjects, that's very, very knowledgeable in this area. And he told me that I said, where do we fit into the big picture? And he said, we are smaller and more insignificant than nanobacteria on a dog's ass. And it was a very blunt way of putting it, obviously, and it hits home if you have a really geocentric perspective. But he was telling me that at times different groups have helped different peoples. The Germans had help. That's very obvious. They were super smart, made it over to the moon long before people think. That's how, that whole thing that unraveled with the moon and NASA and everything. They were already doing experiments up there. China's getting help now. It's very obvious when you look. I mean, that's why they're moving ahead in certain ways, and we're very, very close to getting out in space. But I think a lot of people will be shocked by the end of this decade. I think even Elon Musk is going to be shocked when he finds out, the way that potentially things will work and are working around our solar system, even in the terms of mining and looking at, where we'll get materials and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are this. Season 10 of American Horror Story. I encourage everybody to go and watch the new season of American Horror Story. It's 10 episodes, but it's a 2-part series. Episodes 7 through 10, Ryan Murphy and the writers there, and what they presented in episodes 7 through 10 were about Eisenhower, a crash retrieval that happened out here near Edwards Air Force Base, and Valiant Thor is part of this. The hybrid program is introduced in American Horror Story, and the agreements and the treaties that were made in exchange for technology. Now, the hybrid program, we in this community, Johnny, we talk about these subjects all the time. It makes me wonder if Ryan Murphy and his writers are not listening to Fade to Black and started to get into these subjects, because now with American Horror Story, which is a huge series and very, very popular, this episode 7 through 10 of the latest season, this is going out around the world. This is out beyond our community. And all of these theories and all of these ideas that we talk about right now, that we are talking about, including Colonel Corso, are all in these last 4 episodes. And it makes you wonder how the rest of the world is going to start talking about this. Now, look, it is American Horror Story. I get that. But the way that it's presented here is absolutely fascinating. I'm not going to give any more away than that. But the moon landings are brought up in this. And Mamie Eisenhower, and who is really running the world, and what was Valiant Thor's role in this. It's absolutely incredible. And it gets into humanoid ETs, reptilians, and a coexistence. It's a fascinating. I'm watching this, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. And this is going out on how do I say this? On regular streaming channels. This isn't, you know what I mean? This isn't Ancient Aliens. This isn't Fade Black. Oh, and then, and I've got to head to a break. At the intro of episode, I'm not making this up. Everybody can go and check it out. I almost videotaped it. I'll do it tonight after the show. There's a typewriter going at the intro of the show, right? And guess what it types out on the typewriter?
What?
Fade to Black.
No.
Yes. And it's all of a sudden, and you see this typewriter, fade to black. I was like, no way. Really? Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jonny Enoch is here. When we come back, we're going to get right back into what is going on right now with Contact and ET and Disclosure. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer and UnX Network. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
This is Jimmy Church, and I personally invite you to the 2022 Conscious Life Expo this February 4th through the 7th, live at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This year, we have the most exciting speakers, including Whitley Strieber, Adam Apollo, Billy Carson, Daryl Anka and Bashar, William Henry, Caroline Corey, Susan Slaughter, Daniel Brinkley, JJ and Desiree Hertog, Sarah Breskman Cosme, George Norrie, Gail Thackeray, and many, many more. I will be hosting all weekend long, including the keynote Ancient Secrets panel on Friday night, 5 vendor and exhibit halls, 3 floors of speakers, panels, and celebration. This is the biggest event of the year, and early bird passes are available now. Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for the schedule, speakers, and information. That's ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Do you want to be an official Fade or Not? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Fade or Nots. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jonny Enoch is with us. Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everybody. It is Christmas week here on Fade to Black. We've got Jonny tonight. Tomorrow night is our annual Fader Christmas special. We'll be doing that tomorrow night, and then I'm taking the rest of the week off. That's right. I've got stuff to do, like rest and work. Are you prepared for the holidays, Jonny?
I'm prepared, Jimmy. That's why I started the holidays right now on Fade to Black. I mean, that's I mean, it's always a Christmas present to see you anyways.
Well, and right back at you, man. Right back at you. Now, here we are. We're rolling out of 2021. We're heading into 2022. What is going on with disclosure and contact? What are your sources telling you?
I think what you're going to start to see is there's going to be little discoveries here and there, but nothing too drastic. You're not going to get the big disclosure people are looking for, in my opinion, right now, because there's too much we got to go through. But I will tell you this. The first people that get to leave this planet, that are going to get to go out and explore, that's going to be about 25 years from now. And it's not that we don't have the technology to do that. We already do. And how it works is you're going to have a vehicle that when you go out, let's say this 25 years from now, I want you to picture this. You're going to have these vehicles that are almost like cruise ships. And when you get on them, there's going to be different rooms and suites that you go stay in. There's going to be main areas. It's going to be quite large, places that you can go. And when you head out there, it's not going to be like the secret engines that NASA's working on right now, where they say, hey, you can go to space in 20 years from now, or you can go to Mars or one of those places. First of all, it's probably not even going to be Mars that you go to. Mars is going to need a lot of work, not only in its atmosphere, and it doesn't have enough gravity to even have an atmosphere right now. There's a lot of things that have to change there. But you're going to be going out into other places, and it's going to be spectacular. But you'll go out about 1,000 people at a time in these vehicles, and about 100 of those vehicles are going to leave at a time, I was told from my contacts. How these vehicles are going to work and how the technology currently works for this. And I was told I was allowed to release a little bit of this information tonight on your show. So this is I'm going to drip drop something that has to get out to the public tonight on how this works. But the first part of this is that you're going to have an electromagnetic field that's going to be basically generated around a vehicle using harmonic oscillation. Okay, and what it's going to do is it's going to allow time, gravity, and linear proportional distance to fold in on itself so it can transpose and reconfigure where it wants to go. Now, that's not the secret to how this works. The secret to how it works in the oscillation, and this is where people can start looking this up. I want people to look this up and research this, and then you can talk about it. You want to look up transverse sound waves as opposed to longitudinal sound waves. Okay? Some of these can go faster. And what it's going to do is that you're going to see this reveals a type of sound wave that can transform waveform propagation. Okay, this is what you want to look up. So when you look at this, don't think of like a warp drive like Star Trek. Jimmy, you ever heard of Genghis Khan?
I have.
Okay, did you know that Genghis Khan was the first one ever to give us airmail? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Okay, so Genghis Khan, he used these messenger pigeons that would go out, and they would go very, very quickly to get his messages across, and they would go across, little bursts. So they'd go from point A to point B to point C, point D, and they would get very, very quickly a message across. And, others used this too. The Syrians used this, the Romans used it, they used it in World War I, World War II. So what you're going to see is that we're going to move into these forms of technology very quickly, but there's quite a bit more that we have to go through right now. And it's from what I understand from the folks I talk to, it's not as easy as saying, hey, there's one group doing this in the world. There's all the changes we're going through. There's not just one group steering an agenda or anything. A lot of people like to say, well, it must be the reptilians. And point in fact, from what I've always been told when I ask about this is that reptilians they don't like coming here as much as people think they do. And what we call reptilians, there's several different varieties. So some of them are evolved from folks that their ancient ancestors that they had here, their cousins that you might say they had here. You might have a type that looks like a reptoid type of humanoid. But the reptilians who are taller than us, they're quite cumbersome here, and they don't operate well in our gravity. And they do have some vulnerabilities. And while they may have done exchanges with some groups or tried to cause problems here a couple times on Earth, for the most part, there's many different people coming here with different agendas that these folks might say to us, hey, we want to do an exchange with you, or we need you to manufacture something for us. So they might compete with one group and give them a bunch of help and technology and science, and then they come back in another area, right?
I'm reading about transverse sound waves right now, and this was something I had never heard of. And right here in Science Daily, this is December 7th, 2021. Okay, this is 2 weeks ago. Not even 2 weeks ago. Physicists discovered special transverse sound wave. A research team has discovered a new type of sound wave. The airborne sound wave vibrates transversely and carries both spin and orbital angular momentum like light does. Holy crap. Now, how would your people, whoever's giving you this information, how did they know about this before physicists discovered it?
Well, I'll tell you this: it's time. This has been around for a while, Jimmy. There's a lot of things that have been around for a while.
Right. That's not a good enough answer.
It's time for people to start talking about it. It's time for it to come out. And you're hearing it first on Fade to Black, everyone.
Yeah, no kidding. I just heard it first. I'm blown away. Okay, so let's get back to this system then. Okay, so you said that there were 3 elements to the travel of these cruise ships in 25 years. What were the 3?
Well, we have a lot to go through. First of all, I mean, the things that we are going to go through, even in the next 15 years, are going to be shocking to people. And I got to be careful when I talk about this, because I was on another show a while ago. I was on a video show, and someone was talking to me about the future, and Zuzana had given me a gift. There's everywhere you go in Europe, the brands are so cheap, like Armani and all that. She gave me a sweater. It said Armani, and someone in the comments said, this guy says Armani. It says A at the beginning of his shirt and I at the end. He's promoting AI. And I was like, no, I'm not promoting AI. But I want to say, going into the future, there's a lot of interesting things that are going to shift. And, people like to talk about transhumanism and all those kinds of things. I'm not out there promoting transhumanism. I just think that right now we're already in it. We already have AI, which is machine learning, and strange things that we're about to go through as we're talking about things like the metaverse and new transitions and concepts. But everything that we know about our current civilization is changing. I mean, you can't even deny that when you travel right now, that's not changing, or of the politics of the world, how you travel, how you interact. When you go to a restaurant, we're going into biometrics, we're going into biosynthetics right now. And this is something that's been transitioning by design that way. And, if I could tell you this, I want to tell you, without getting into specific details, you're going to see some things that are going to start to kick off around January, February of this next year. You're going to notice changes happening in Russia. You're going to notice Russia is going to move into Eastern Europe in the next 5 years, and they're already making noise about that. You're going to notice China's talking about making big moves right now, and this is going to affect us technologically and everything and how the world works. Have you noticed that Xi, who is from China, that he's now dressing in that Mao outfit? Have you seen that?
I don't. I try not to pay attention. I try not to, and you know why? It just fills me full of dread and negativity, right? And but I try to focus in the now. But I do want to hear what you're talking about.
Yeah, this is my message to people: is that the hard part about telling people to stay positive and to stay optimistic about our future is that when you talk about things that may be happening, that some people start saying, well, you're promoting it. You must be one of these guys that's in on the... No, it's we're all in this, trying to get through it one day at a time, all the annoyances when we travel, all these sort of things. But, what we're looking at right now is that we are moving into a new era where we have to start talking about things like AI, like robots, like things that are going to change the nanotechnology that's there, and it's there in a big way. And as the world shifts and changes, as I was just talking about, there's going to be some big changes that are going to unfold in the next 3 to 4 years, major changes. And you know that commercial that you had on the break that was talking about, getting ready for food and those sort of supplies.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be periods that you're going to see where there are going to be shifts in fuel and food over the next 15 years. But once we get to that sweet spot, I'm told, once you can get past that 20-year mark, 20 to 25 years, things are going to settle down. We're going to have a lot of wonderful breakthroughs and things along the way that we're going to really speed up. We're getting sped up right now. And I don't think everyone realizes how fast this is going to happen. It's going to happen very, very quickly. You're going to have replicators in your house. That is like a 3D printer that's going to be able to print your coffee cup with the coffee in it. And when you have that, it will also be the same thing that does your pair of shoes that you're wearing. And when you're done with your shoes, you will be able to put in another machine that will break down the molecular structure of it and use the same materials to go create the next day's coffee or food that you want. Because of the shifts that we're seeing around the world, I have a friend of mine named Bob that lives over in Mexico, and he trades commodities. He's looking at grains. He's looking at these sort of things around the world. We're noticing that crops are changing. Food is changing. You're going to find there's like 3D lab, 3D, or not only 3D printed, but like a piece of muscular animal flesh that's grown from animal cells that you're going to see. It's going to be lab grown meat is going to be what's mainly available by the end of the decade. You're going to see shifts like that. Now, when we see this stuff start to shift, we have to look at these ideas that, nothing ever stays the same. It shifts very quickly. And one thing that I think is going to be the most shocking for people is that when you see that how much AI is going to become a part of our lives as it already is, and the dangers of it. So, Jimmy, I know you've got a lot of thoughts on this.
I do. Well, I had just read yesterday, and I wasn't aware of this, but China has successfully 3D printed a new heart for somebody with biological material, and the stem cells and the genetic makeup of this heart were taken from the patient that was receiving the heart, and they 3D printed an actual heart out of biological material. And I wasn't aware of this, and I read through that. And I just thought, what is it that we're truly not being told? But that sounds like a huge step. It's one thing to talk about ordering a pair of shoes off of Amazon, and that gets downloaded to your 3D printer, and instead of it being sent to you in a box, and arriving on a Prime delivery truck, that you're just going to print those shoes or the belt or whatever on a 3D printer. That makes a lot of sense to me. And
yeah, no, it's amazing.
Right.
And there's a lot of interesting things that are going to be the advancements that come from this. So a lot of people throw around the term AI, and they really don't understand it that well. And I've had some deep conversations with guys over at, let's say, the Polymath Institute. I've talked to guys that, even work with Elon Musk. And what they tell me is that, hey, this is in their field, they just call it machine learning. So you're using it when you're using your camera on your phone.
Right.
The AI is figuring out how to take a good picture. You're using it on Google. You're using it on spell checker, Siri, Alexa. But this is all very limited AI. It's like these are just absolutes. It's like you and we did another show when I was on Fade to Black, and I was super impressed that you were so well versed on quantum computing and femtobits and everything. I mean, you know your stuff.
I fake it, but yes, it's all smoke and mirrors, man. Smoke and mirrors.
No. But here's the point.
Yes.
So we got like today we're working with binary. We got ones and zeros, 1001 and everything. We got these absolutes. It's going to go to point A to point B, and everyone gets all wowed out with Sophia and the talking robot and. But those are so primitive. Where I live in Budapest, we have robot cafes. I'm not kidding you. You can look this up. We have a cafe down there that the robots come up. They're moving their arms just like Wall-E. Their eyes are going. They're talking to you. They take your order. They sanitize the table. They make you the drink. They bring it over. It's amazing. Even when I first went in the mall there, they had a robot like this, and it shocked me. I couldn't believe that there's a robot that will go around with you, and it's very impressive. It's like the Jetsons. But even that is primitive. So where people, I think that they're really thinking is they're thinking about when we get to the stage of quantum computing, and we're not there yet where we have the ability to put a quantum computer in a robot's head. When you can put a quantum computer in a robot's head, which will be there, you're going to reach that in about 20, 25 years. When you do that, you're going to have self-aware beings that are going to have something called synthetic intelligence. And you're going to get a lot of folks then. They're going to be wanting to give robots human rights and say you don't want them to do all these tasks for humans and all that sort of stuff. And then another dangerous thing, I think that, we have to be having this conversation now because there are dangers to AI. Did you see the Xenobots where the AI was hooked up to the frog eggs?
Yep, I certainly did. And that's freaking me out. And, okay. I discussed that a couple of weeks ago on Fade to Black. We can circle back to that. But I want to stay on China for a second. What have you found out about the cube on the dark side of the moon that China has photographed, and they're now sending their rover over to investigate this cube? Is that natural? Is it artificial? Is China going to release more information? What does China know now? What's going on with that?
I saw the cube, but I haven't had a chance to catch up with some more knowledgeable folks about that. I'm like you. I just looked at it and I go, that's incredible. I think that they're doing it on purpose to provoke us, just like they fired up those hypersonic missiles over the earth. It's like they're showing off. Hey, look, we got something here that we know, drip drop, we have this kind of advantage. So what do you think it is?
I don't know. The only information that they have released, and they haven't done anything since then, Johnny, was that it was 260 feet away, 80 meters, that it's going to take a couple of months for that rover to go that 80 meters and get close-up imaging. Now, there is no way that they are not looking at new images and that they aren't, shooting video every single day and capturing images as this rover makes its way over to this object. There's no way. They've got more data, but they're not telling us anything. And that's the part that is a little bit scary to me because they know more than they're leading on. Look, if it's artificial, just come out and tell us. It's not that big of a deal. It's a rock shaped like a cube. Okay, all right. If it's not, then they would withhold that information. Right? There's no reason to keep a secret if it's a rock. Right? There's a reason. What's the reason to keep that a secret? There isn't one. But all of a sudden, there's been this blackout of information. When they are looking at it right now as you and I talk. That they're looking at fresh imaging and fresh data and telemetry, but they're not releasing anything, Johnny. And that's the part that makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, the whole subject of what's going on in space and who's involved there is rather shocking. And I think it's not just a so-called secret space program. I think that there's some very industrial things going on that are happening already. And I think even Elon Musk, again, I think he's going to be very shocked to find out how far even some of the groups on Earth are ahead in these areas and what's been going on. And I do think that, one day Elon Musk will be remembered in the distant future when he's done all the great things he is doing and will do. I think he'll be remembered as a great innovator and a pioneer that's going out there. But guys like China are out there, and they have knowledge about things that are up there. And it's going to be shocking when people find out that, there's probably all kinds of relics on the moon and around our solar system that we'll discover.
Yeah, Avi Loeb said on this show last week, 2 weeks ago. I did another thing with him over the weekend on Friday. He said that when I brought up the question, would you be surprised if some ancient technology, extraterrestrial technology is found on this planet. 100 million years old, archaeological dig. And and he said, no, that wouldn't surprise me at all. He said, but I think we're going to find it on the moon. And that's where we need to be looking. And that was from Avi Loeb. And now, is he making an educated guess, based on what he knows? Okay. Or is there something else? Is there other chatter going around in not only professional circles, but maybe even through some of these space agencies about what has been found on the moon?
Yeah, no, there's definitely stuff that's hanging around our solar system, and when we're ready to see it, we will. That's how it's going to work with disclosure. It's not going to work, in my opinion, and from the conversations I've had from behind the scenes, it's not going to work that they're going to land on the White House lawn, or there's not going to be a big announcement. Especially when there's so many transitions that have to take place. And if you ask me, that's why a lot of these things are happening right now. The groups that are influencing us from down here, they want major changes, and things have to change on Earth. There's a lot of imbalance and inequality, and there's stuff that is going to transform on a major level, a genetic level, on an economic level, on every way that we see ourselves. Think about this. I mean, I'm not trying to promote anything that's like, I'm not trying to promote something of where we remove all money or anything like that. But if you think about like the old Star Trek concept, if you had a replicator, if everyone has a replicator in their house, well, then who's gonna need to go out there and really have to go buy things? You're gonna have whatever you want. In the future, getting back to that conversation, people in the future, you're going to have these homes that are almost like your parent. You come home in your home, and it's going to know, how you're feeling, Jimmy. Even if you go to the bathroom, you sit down, your toilet is going to be analyzing your health and say, hey, you need to eat more green foliage. You're going to have, these strange things that are going to be monitoring you. The way that we interact with each other is going to change. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, and I'm not promoting this. I'm just saying that this is what the big tech companies are talking about, especially if you go to Ray Kurzweil over at Google's Alphabet and others. They're basically saying the cell phone is dead. Your cell phone doesn't have much time left. You're going to be getting rid of wearables and all that. What they're talking about right now with the metaverse, like if you look at what Facebook, Google, Microsoft is talking about, what they're talking about is essentially when you access these networks, which are going to become quantum networks, they're going to use your body as the energy source. Each one of you listening gives off 100 watts of energy. So what will happen is that you're not going to take like a microchip in your head or anything like that. Although, we'll have in the future transdermal tattoos and stuff like that will monitor your health and keep track of different things. But what they'll do is they're going to have something that you basically just snort up your nose. And when you snort it up your nose, it's going to become an augmented display and optical receiver. So if someone's sitting at a movie theater, they're just going to answer the phone by putting their hand in front of them. They'll answer the phone, touch things, and move forward. And basically, if you look at the back of your cell phone, by the way, your cell phone has about 30 milliwatts. You have 100 watts that you're giving off. You have the ability to power something and be on a full quantum communication network. The future's coming at us hard and fast, and it's not that far off. And people might think this is crazy talk, but this is what our futurists and technologists are talking about right now.
There is a sensor. Most people don't know about this, but there's a sensor right here. There's a little black circle on your iPhone below these three cameras. There's a little black circle there. And you know what that's for? That's for 3D mapping your environment. And you can get software, you can get apps that will convert everything around you with that sensor. And now it's not shipped with that, okay? But that's what that sensor is for. It's a 3D mapping sensor, and you can get apps installed on your phone, and you can 3D map right now, just and 3D map. And this technology is out there and ready to go, and it makes you wonder who was using and why was this installed and shipped and what is Apple's intentions, or does it go beyond that? We need to take a break right here. Let's get this in. Our guest tonight, Jonny Enoch. Johnny, I'm just telling you right now, we're doing overtime tonight. So just get ready. Okay? Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. This is Fade to Black. More with Johnny when we come back. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on jimmychurchradio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to wtih.com. That's wtih.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to wtih.com. That's wtih.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to wtih.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's wtih.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit unitedgoldgroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black?
Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everyone. It's Christmas week. I'm taking Wednesday and Thursday off. All right, so tomorrow night is Fader Christmas. Tonight it's Jonny Enoch. And then we'll roll into New Year's Eve week starting on Monday. Okay, so now, Johnny, back to the conversation. Now, I want to go here. Who is really running the planet, and what's the agenda, right? Who is really running the planet? Is it private families? Is it bankers? Is it money? Is it ET? Is it ET controlling the families? Is it ET controlling the state actors and the militaries around the world? Is all of that imagination, or is there another agenda afoot? Who is running the planet?
Well, you might say that there's these gardeners of humanity, but you can't just say that there's one group running the planet. I've asked that question many times, and when I get to ask questions of extremely knowledgeable folks that are in the know, and I get these sessions, and when I do, it's not very often that I get them, but you get help when you're in this field. That certain folks behind the scenes come to you and they say, "Okay, I'm going to give you some help," and I'm always told to be cautious about that because there are certain groups that have their influences and they have their agendas and they want things done. But even these very wealthy families, sometimes they are put in a position where they are from the folks out there. We do get instructions that come several light years away from here. There's certain instructions to the managers of our planet, but as it's been explained to me again and again, that it's not just one group. So you might have the United States has their treaties and their deals that they do with some group that will give us a bunch of technology and exchanges and help, sort of like the story of Charles Hall with the tall whites, or you'll get the Germans that were doing exchanges. Like we said, China, whoever it is, everybody kind of comes together. But overall, the managers of our planet come together and they say, well, we know we have to meet certain marks. We have certain things that we need to implement. And so you might say that our currencies are changing. We're getting these centralized digital currencies, which are coming really quickly. We're going to biometrics and biosynthetics. You might say that we have certain changes on our planet with these biogenetic technologies.
But who are the managers that you speak of?
Well, let's say this. I don't eat fast food really, but if I did eat fast food, it would be out where you are. It'd be In-N-Out Burger. I think that's about the best fast food place in California. When you go talk to the manager, you might talk to a manager that has the power to make decisions over the employees, but ultimately it's the owners, it's the corporation. That they're bringing things down the line, that they're really driving directives that the manager that everyone thinks is in charge is putting out to the restaurant there. So you could say that you have big groups on the planet that do have this wealth and this influence and push within politicians, within governments, but it's like they're getting their information from elsewhere as well. Just like when everyone looks at the Vatican, you think the Pope is in charge, but it's not the Pope. It's the Black Pope that's really in charge, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's very interesting how that works. The guy at the front is never the guy that's really in charge.
There's a Black Pope?
Yeah, look it up. That's a whole other conversation when you look up the Jesuits and the Church of the Jesu in Rome. But let me give you a picture about this idea. Jimmy, I want to tell you that even though we're going to go through some transitions in the next 15 years, some ups and downs, and like I said earlier, you might see issues with Russia cutting ties with NATO, things going on with energy, things going on with pipelines, and changes with China and things like that. But ultimately, in the future, we won't be turning missiles against each other. The future, we might look at a period where we're looking at stuff like cyber warfare and quantum communications networks. But ultimately, at the highest levels of government, they're all working together in unison. And they might even be concerned about aggressive management styles from groups that could be coming from out there. Also, with that being said, I think we're going to move into a period in the future where we will have a greater peace and understanding and working together and moving into that direction ultimately. So we might start to see that we might start to find out that we have been getting help and direction from out there.
This big movement that is happening with it's the main subject today. With the Senate, with the Department of Defense, with the ODNI, UAPs, UFOs, what have you, the new legislation, the new NDAA, and the budget that was just passed and signed off on. We also have the media speaking about things in a different way. Why is this happening now? What is the agenda with this constant UFO conversation? Not only out of Washington, D.C., but I'm talking about Capitol Hill, but the military and the media. It's all happening at the same time. Who's doing that?
Well, I mean, much like you, I want disclosure. I want it to happen. I mean, I wish Dr. Stephen Greer could go and get them moving on it. He's been doing that since the Disclosure Project, and we do see a lot of this coming out, most certainly. But, it could be another way of these groups kind of slowly just acknowledging it, teasing us a bit, coaxing us along, or showing other groups around the world that, hey, we have our own knowledge of this. It's not just you guys that have the knowledge of this. You can take this for what you want to take this, but I have heard that China, they're very advanced. China, first of all, we should look at them not as a country, but as a civilization. They've been around since the time of the Egyptians, for like 6,000 years. They don't really have a president. They have an emperor. They have these 5 autonomous, provinces. They're incredibly advanced. The one thing you might look at them is that certain groups might be saying, okay, these guys, why are they building 80 million empty apartments? Why do they have that? Could that be for hybrids? Could they be working with ETs on another level? Is that why they're so advanced in their structure and what they're moving forward with? Could we be saying to them, hey, we have an idea of UAPs. We know what this is also, and certain groups revealing their cards a little bit. They're revealing their hands. That's another way of looking at it. I've personally been told, though, by folks in those positions that we're a ways off from that. And how disclosure is going to work is we're going to discover it. We're going to be like the big discoverers and go, oh, my God, we were out there. We see them, that they've been here, rather than them come and do an announcement on us. So I was told that's how it's kind of going to work through there. But, I mean, they're on another level. There are all kinds of facilities and underground places where we've studied these things. We know they exist. You've talked to enough people, whether you're talking to a Rick Doty or you're talking to a Dr. Stephen Greer or someone who has lots of files and information on this. It's rather incredible. But look at all these underground facilities we have. When's the last time that you were flying out to Denver, Colorado?
Not that long ago.
Okay, so when you've been flying out to Denver, Colorado, there's all kinds of strange murals and depictions in that airport, right?
Well, okay, I'm gonna jump in. I was last week. I'm flying to New York. And had to change planes. And I was sitting, I don't want to say why or anything like that, but let's just say I'm in the front row. Okay? All right, that's how I fly. Okay, so I'm in the front row. And in front of me are the 2 flight attendants, and we're landing at DIA. And the 2 flight attendants are talking. And I'm overhearing, and so one of the older flight attendant, speaking to the younger one, she goes, I just hear her say, "Oh yeah, there's all kinds of underground tunnels that are underneath DIA, and there are these paintings, and there are that." I'm like, this is a flight attendant talking to another flight attendant right now, and they don't know who I am. And I'm listening to this conversation. Now, of course, I've been through Denver. I've seen the paintings. I've heard the rumors. I remember when the airport first opened and why it was located where it was and all these things that were going around in our circles. So, yes, I've been up on it since the very beginning. But it was very interesting for me to hear this flight attendant educating the other flight attendant about what she knew about DIA. Now, this is not a guest on Fade to Black. This is not Jonny Enoch. This is a flight attendant speaking to another flight attendant. And I didn't speak up. I wanted to jump in, Johnny, so bad. Oh, yeah. No, I didn't. But I was very shocked to hear this conversation go down between the two of them. I can't say who the airline was. I'm not going to go through any of that and get into a strange position. I'm not going to do that. But yes, this flight attendant was fully uploading and downloading this other flight attendant. It was amazing.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's real. It's been there. It opened up in '94. And what happened is that if you want to see the evidence of it, first of all, when you're driving up to Denver Airport, when you drive up there, you'll notice these big piles of dirt everywhere, scattered in the fields and just all over the place. It doesn't make sense. There's just these huge mounds of dirt. That's all from the drilling that they were doing. So what they did is they drilled under that, and it's actually quite interesting why they built that there, because they drilled under it. And they went way deep under there in the train. They put a train system under there. So it's something like, 60 miles west of there. You go up there, you're in the Rockies. And what I was told is that there's a 2,000-mile long base that's in the Rockies that's the default capital for the United States. If things go wrong, this is where everyone flies up. That's the headquarters where the president, the chiefs of staff, all of them go up to, and they fly up into that area and go under there. And it's safe because the four corners of the United States will be the safest. If you go look up into Colorado, what would that be? Nevada, Arizona, maybe New Mexico, those kind of things. Well, here's the thing. There's another one of those that we have. First of all, the United States is covered with huge underground facilities like that look at UFOs, that look at these kind of activities. But there's another huge one that is a replica of Washington, D.C., that I've been told that exists between Argentina and Brazil, and has 5 layers for 5 leaders of countries to go underneath it. And in some of these facilities that they have, it's more like military barracks. It's very militaristic, but they have some of them that are almost like lifestyle ones that are, they have like artificial mountains with water that has different temperatures and different types of fish in them and stuff that are very, very highly advanced and ways that they can sustain themselves. But how much have you heard about them studying these, zoological creatures or UFOs in some of these?
Well, don't worry about what I want to know what you know. I don't know nothing. I'm so impressed.
No.
So you're saying that between Argentina and Brazil, there is like a United Nations?
Yeah, basically, those are backup plans. Those exist. There's one of the largest ones in the world is in Australia. We talk about Pine Gap and all these sort of places. There's a very large facility there. It's like a country within a country too. You know how you have the Vatican is a country within a country. Mm-hmm. You have DC is a country within a country. The banking district of London. Well, the same is true of Australia in its areas. These underground facilities are very, very impressive, and this is where we do and conduct a lot of studies in these areas in that realm.
Now, I'm not concerned about World War III I just don't think that's ever going to happen. I just don't. For a lot of different reasons. But something cosmic going down, an asteroid or a comet impact, where would you want to be if something like that went down? Well, the Andes is not a bad choice, right? It's not a bad choice. South America. Australia, right? It's big. And
Australia would be good.
Well, and I'll tell you why. It's location and things, yes. But the ability to build and construct something there in private, you could get away with it because there's not that, and you could do the same thing in South America where it just isn't a bunch of people to observe some clandestine construction going on, a big clandestine construction. You can't get away with that in the United States. You couldn't get away with that in Europe. There's too many people to see what you're doing. But I like your point about Australia and between Argentina and Brazil. Those are two remote locations where you could get this kind of stuff built.
You really could. But this is going to sound a little far out there for people if they don't already think some of this is far out there. But I don't think we should hold back. This is fade to black.
Okay, let's go.
Fade to black. So just like the typewriter on that show you were saying. So there's lots of folks that are coming here already. I mean, we live on the denser outer edges of the universe. And the folks that are coming here, they're not always staying here in the way that we think they are. First of all, we have a lot of real estate under the ocean. Under the ocean, there's ways that they could park certain vehicles here. And, nature abhors a vacuum. When you put your hand in some water, it's going to, envelop itself very quickly if you pull it out. You're not going to see that for very long. But if you go deep enough into the depths of the ocean, and we created a bubble under there, it's not going to protrude on itself. So just like if you look at what Schauberger discovered with trout, with the electroline bacteria around it, this is how our submarines travel very quickly, or even our UFOs travel very quickly underwater by creating this electromagnetic field around it. Think about if you could create an artificial atmospheric bubble in certain areas under the ocean, and you have certain technology that you could just park inside of one of these things. It wouldn't work out too well for our submarines because after a while, those little, even the really advanced submarines we have that can power themselves for 2 years and sit in the Baltic if they wanted to, those guys, those naval guys crammed in there would be going crazy. They would just be sitting there. They'd be going nuts in those little booths. Even if they're well trained, they'd be going nuts after even a couple months. I don't know if any of you watching this could sit in a little bunker for that long under the water. No,
I do it. I do it on Fade to Black every night. See,
but bunkers guitars.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What have you been told about this? In that, if you are coming from another planet where you have a different biosphere, different atmosphere, you may be breathing something that is a nitrogen-oxygen mix, but it may be a little bit different. Maybe not. Maybe there's something else totally. And if you needed to create your own biosphere here, you wouldn't want to do that necessarily on land. But if you did it deep in the ocean, you could create and replicate something from your home world, and nobody would see it, and it would be easier to do under the water to protect yourself from the sun's rays and the radiation and anything else that is out in our atmosphere. You can just create your own underwater.
Well, that's one thing that's very challenging when you bring that up. And that's something we're going to face in the future. Like, as you know, right now, we all feel at home on Earth because we have the Schumann resonance and our current state that we're in, this level of consciousness and how we're in. You get out of there and you're going to feel very weird. Like they say, the worst kind of sick you can be is seasick. Now, picture that times a million. When you were going to leave somewhere, there's certain forms of technology and drugs they would need to use even when you're leaving the Earth for some time. And so when you go into other planets, I know this is going to sound like science fiction, but you might say that if we were going into another universe or another place, think the movie Avatar. The movie Avatar, what you're thinking about there is something called the transpositioning of consciousness. And we essentially have a type of technology and a type of means of explaining this in our physics. I won't bore everyone, but if they want to look up, the work of Sir Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff and quantum consciousness and how it works in the brain with microtubules, with your EEGs, there's a way we can triangulate your consciousness, and in the future, the unique song or rhythm you have with anharmonic vibrations, we'll be able to locate it and transfer it into places. I know that sounds strange right now, but that's one way that some groups could do this. There's a way that you could look at acclimating the body very slowly. Some people would be able to do this. But the one thing, Jimmy, I take away from that, if you think about how a UFO could park itself under the ocean and just sit there, or they could have like an area where they could hide out here in this area or park in our neck of the woods. You might see a little craft on the outside when you see a UFO come out there. But people I know that have gone inside of these UFOs, they say that when the UFO came out, it was almost like light came out of everywhere, out of all the walls. It was like they couldn't see a light source. The thing was very intuitive. It knew about them. It was almost as if it was alive, and it was enormous. It was like they could fit in a little UFO on the outside, and it would be gigantic on the inside. And this is due to transdimensional mathematics, that we could see that the spatial aspects of it were much different. But here's another concept I want you to think about. When you look out into space, Jimmy, and you see that this thing we call dark matter, and we think, oh, that's just blank spaces. In that area, it's filled with resonance. It's filled with frequency. There's all kinds of stuff going on there. The same as in the bunker. You might be sitting in the bunker with a bunch of really cool guitars behind you, but point in fact, you're sharing it with folks that are also on this planet with us at different resonant and frequency, that they're inhabiting this. And I think when sometimes people are walking down the street sometime and they're seeing something from another period, or they're walking through an area, just like that story you told me that one time, really crazy story, how you saw that, what was that in the sky that you saw? Can you tell everyone?
A Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have been there, should it?
Apparently not. I told that story the other night with some guests. This is, that would explain something. I had, before I get to the break, I'm just going to share this with you. In my old bunker, so I have guitars hanging on the walls, right? And I'm at the end of the show's over, and everything's soundproofed, right? Just like it is in here. Right? I've got soundproofing, floor, ceilings, everything's soundproof, dead. And so after the show, Johnny, when I take my headphones off, show's done. It is dead quiet. You can hear your heartbeat. It's like that. So I take off my headphones and I put them down, and at that moment, from behind me, this is what happens with one of my guitars. And I'm facing this way. It goes like this.
Wow.
Right? And I'm facing this, and I spin around, and I'm looking to see if something fell, but nothing did, of course. What would strum the guitars? Let's think about that for a second. What would strum the guitars? Could it be a ghost? Could it be, like you're saying, something else at a different frequency, like just is always here and doesn't know what a guitar is, touched it? At that moment, I don't know. But the strum happened, and it happened behind my back. And it was so loud because the room is, soundproof. It was shocking to me. And I still don't have an explanation. I expected it to happen again. It never did. That was like 5 years ago. Never did. I don't know what I would. If it happened a second time, I might drop dead from a heart attack. It was. It
could have just been a friendly ghost from the past.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it was Jimi Hendrix. This is Fade to Black. So. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jonny Enoch. And you already knew we were going into overtime. So we're going to do that when we come back after this short break. It's Christmas week. Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas. We'll come back with some overtime with Jonny Enoch right after this short break. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us.
listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church, and I personally invite you to the 2022 Conscious Life Expo this February 4th through the 7th, live at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This year, we have the most exciting speakers, including Linda Moulton Howe, Jacques Vallée, Whitley Strieber, Adam Apollo, Billy Carson, Daryl Anka and Bashar, William Henry, Caroline Corey, Susan Slaughter, Daniel Brinkley, Sarah Breskman-Cosme, George Norrie, Gail Thackeray, and many, many more. I will be hosting all weekend long, including the keynote Ancient Secrets panel on Friday night, 5 vendor and exhibit halls, 3 floors of speakers, panels, and celebration. This is the biggest event of the year, and early bird passes are available now. Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for the schedule, speakers, and information. That's ConsciousLifeExpo.com. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Kristen, Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. The chat room suddenly just swung right over to guitar amp heads. I mean, how did that? And I'm looking, and I'm gonna, Johnny, I'm just gonna take a guess here, but I'm gonna say our audience, male, female, doesn't matter, young, old. They all play guitar, man. I'm just looking. The chat room is 100% guitar head talk right now. Tube guitar heads, and I was not part of it. I just this was going on during our conversation. Pretty fascinating. I absolutely love it. We were talking about resonance and frequencies and what could be living around us. The fact of the matter is a very simple one. We are looking at a very small slice of everything, and we live at a certain frequency. And you jump off of that to the left or right just a little bit, and that's it. You're not going to be able to see anything once you jump out of that or hear anything, and would probably be surprised to see what is flying around and walking around and living at the very same time. There's no question about it. Now,
we covered that on this new episode of Guy's Mystery Teachings. We have an episode called The Quantum Quilt of Reality. And if you like that subject, you got to watch it. But, Jimmy, you're absolutely right. If you look at our bodies, for example, it takes very little energy to change the harmonic resonance, let's say, even at the atoms in your body. And if you changed them just the slightest, and they weren't relative to the floor below you, you would fall through the floor. You'd be down in the middle of the earth. I mean, that's relativity. We could change the subjective reality all around us. You could walk through walls. You could have anti-gravitics. You could do all these things with it. I mean, it's the most amazing thing.
Yeah, and to put another spin on this, I want to talk. Literally a spin. Is this? Everybody knows about noise-canceling headphones. Okay? This is a technology that we are all used to. You pop on your headphones, you hear what you want to hear. The rest of the world is gone. Right? Okay, that same concept. And the way that noise-canceling headphones work, talk about AI, by the way, in machine learning, the way that they work, we're okay with that. But just imagine if there was a sight-canceling technology, right? Or the ability to put on glasses and see everything at a different frequency, right? And noise-canceling headphones, if you can understand what that is, and that's dealing with sound, what if we could do the same thing with light and the frequency of light? Well, no, I'm saying to observe another part of what is around us, right? And you put them on, you disappear, right? and you disappear, and then you see something else in the background.
They're already doing that, Jimmy. Okay, so again, this is where we get into an ethical conversation about transhumanism. And again, I'm not the one doing this, so please, people, stop getting in that debate about that. But when we look over at silicon hexagonal structures, those little nanoparticles that are 1 atom thick, they've already injected those into the eyeballs of mice. And when they've done that, they've been able to take their vision, and they're looking at the infrared. They're able to give them so they can give night vision. Well, what if we start looking into the ultraviolet? What if we start looking into other spectrums? This could be insane what you'll see.
Yeah, I know, and we do that now to some degree with the deep space imaging, where we're looking at different frequencies, and you see a galaxy one way, and then look at it in another spectrum, and you're looking at something totally different, and it's mind-blowing. And just imagine if we were able to do that in real time right now. I'm fascinated with that. Now, I want to talk about time travel. There is a lot of chatter right now about the possibility of the Tic Tac or UAPs that are not necessarily an ET civilization, but it's us from the future coming back and hiding out in the oceans and existing there. It's just us from the future. What have you found out about this?
Well, essentially, a lot of the ET groups here, they don't have the limitation that we do. So what people can wrap their heads around is something called quantum multiplicity. And you already know this, Jimmy, that everything is happening right now in simultaneity. The young Jimmy Church that, was telling me that story earlier, where you looked up and you looked up in the sky, and there you see this giant structure, this blimp kind of thing, looking up and going, oh my God, look at this thing, this Zeppelin, it's up there. This is freaking me out. To the Jimmy Church that is sitting in front of me right now with the guitars behind you, to the one that's, flying to New York, in a month from now, whatever you're doing. That's all happening at the same time. Well, the thing is, with this reptilian part of the brain, we might have a part of our brain that will keep us focused in on one area. We have this aspect. It's kind of like if you were to lose all sound. Let's say we got rid of all sound so you couldn't hear anything. The first thing that would become overwhelming for you is the beating of your heart. This would become the most overwhelming thing that you get used to in the womb. Well, then we get into talking about something called lineal subjugation. So with this aspect, we have this limitation where we're focused on one small little point. But you're talking about advanced civilizations here that don't have that limitation. They can go backwards and forwards. And if they see you, Jimmy, and they say, this is somebody that we think is really important, they can go back in your life and create something 30 years beforehand. They could create something in your life that's going to be so monumental it will change everything about you. And so they don't have that limitation like we do. I think that's one thing that we're going to discover, that especially when we start to think about the future of space travel, or even the folks that might be visiting us, how they could have a different lifespan through the special theory of relativity, time dilation that we talk about. For those folks at home that might have looked at this before, have you ever driven your car down the freeway? And I'm talking to the folks at home, Jimmy, because I know you're familiar with this concept. If you're driving your car down the freeway and you might be going up the freeway, it looks like someone's going really slow outside on a bike or something, and then they look at you and you look like a bullet, like a bat out of hell that just flew by them. So these two points and how they're moving. So I absolutely believe that the aspect of being able to move within the construct that we call time is going to be there for us in the future. I mean, people have been saying that forever about the Greys. A lot of them say that certain Greys are us in the future, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm asking you, is not all. I don't think I think we can't be that general about this, but that some of what we are seeing in the sky, some of the contact that is being made, is us from the future. Have your contacts talked about this? Is this part of what is going on?
How far in the future? How far do you want to know? Because there's when we're talking. I don't know if I should even get into this, but if we're talking 300 years in the future, you could be looking at that the Earth's population is going to be a lot less. We're going to be out in different places where the groups that aren't going to be here as much. I mean, Bezos is already saying that, for example. But when you're talking about the humans that are going to be about 30,000 years from now, the humans that are going to be about 30,000 years from now, they're going to have means of going places that are far beyond that.
Are they? But Johnny, are they visiting us in the now from the future? Are humans, Earthlings, visiting our timeline right now?
But if they are, I don't think they're from. If they're that advanced, like a lot of these interstellar groups that are coming here, if they're that advanced, I don't think they're from Earth. They might be our descendants from out there, is what I'm saying. Our descendants are going to be in all kinds of different places, but they're not necessarily going to be here. When we've gone that far, when you reach that peak, when we got that kind of technology, we're not going to, for the majority of us, are not going to be here.
So if you and I left on a starship today, and we head out at the speed of light, we make a U-turn, and we come back, and we're 10,000 years in the future, right? That's it. Einstein has said that this is what would happen. So we come back to Earth. You're saying that we would have been leaving this planet. Now, how would we get back to this timeline? How would we come back to 2021? Is there going to be a time machine in the future? Have they figured that out? And would we be able to get back and have another episode of Fade to Black?
Well, remember, when we can get to that point when we're able to do this, it's not going to be through a warp drive. We're going to be able to take time, gravity, and linear proportional distance and fold in on itself. And then we can just transpose and reconfigure whatever point we want to go. And that we'll have a way of mapping that out. But what I'm saying is that in the future, when we can get to that point, it's going to be at a point where it's going to be our descendants. It might not be the Earthlings coming back to visit us, but we might be in other places where we've set up shop, so to speak. So I think that, you're right. This is very well, some of them could be us, our descendants in the future coming to visit us. But let me just put it this way, Jimmy. There's going to be a way that you're going to evolve so that in the future you won't even need a vehicle. There will be a way to transport your consciousness to certain places. There will be a way. This is going to sound very sci-fi like, but there will be a way that let's just say if you had like a humans in the future that had a certain microcellular tissue that they could just appear any way they want. There's like a thought projection sort of way of doing that, or they could just be at a certain place or reconfigure themselves. So that we're going to get very, very advanced potentially in the future if we keep going the way that we are.
Are you saying that that's how we would vacation?
I'm saying, yeah. I mean, it's possible we've been visited by folks like that before. It's possible that we've been visited by a sort of living we've had folks come here like a living hologram through a chimerous sort of energetic structure that can change, and have different forms and whatnot. But the UAPs and all that are coming here, it's a variety of stuff. I definitely believe that, some of them are our descendants. Some of them are, groups that are scoping us out. There's different types of technology that have been shared with us that we're using. So it's a variety of things, but what a fascinating and exciting time to be alive.
Have you made contact yourself?
I will say this, Jimmy. I know you've had your contacts.
No, I haven't made contact. Nope, not me. I've seen things. Have I made contact? I don't think so. I mean, not that I'm aware of.
All I'll say is I've had contact with beings, humanoids, that I have met that have shown me without a shadow of a doubt that they had extraordinary abilities, that they're beyond human. And what I mean by that is they demonstrated to me that they were able to recall memories when I was 12 years old. They've been able to tell me those things. I never knew this person in my life. They've told me things that were going to happen. They showed me extraordinary knowledge about our universe and things that they knew. And they were able to talk about the stars and different places that they had gone through, that they demonstrated to me that this was beyond human intelligence. And the way I can describe that is I'm not BSing. I'm not making this up. This is absolutely shocking. And when I've experienced it, it's like you're talking to like a human Google. Anything that you talk to this person, it's not like a human being that we're like going and ah, trying to figure things out. It's just like extraordinary and stunning intelligence, and the abilities that they have to just know things. So yeah, I would say that the beings that have identified like that, when you have that kind of contact, it's overwhelming.
Now, they appear human?
The being that I met, the person I met, absolutely did. And the greatest, this is the thing, Jimmy, as it's been told to me again and again, the greatest place if you want to see extraterrestrials is in Venice Beach. They're walking there every day. No, I'm serious. I mean, I know it sounds like a joke, but Venice Beach, not just because there's a lot of weirdos and stuff walking around, but you go there and you go to Las Vegas, you're going to see them. You're going to see them working amongst our scientists at Oxford University. You're going to see them in parts of government. You're going to see them blending in. They're here. They're walking among us.
Well, I've seen Harry Perry on his rollerblades playing that guitar in Venice Beach, singing his hit song "Aliens Among Us," and I've often thought that he is E.T. But when you say why Venice Beach? Because I have my own theories behind this, and I've met some people from there. But why do you say Venice Beach?
It's a good climate and a good place to blend in. I mean, who's going to spot you? I mean, there's ways to spot these folks. There's ways to spot them and to know, that they have that unique kind of resonance to them.
How do you spot them?
There's groups of them that have. You might say that some of them that have done deals with our governments, that they have areas outside of town, you might say, where they might have like a little closed off suburban area where they have stuff brought to them, that they have kind of refugee areas.
But how would you spot them, Johnny?
There's some people that are kind of naturally trained to spot them. If you've ever been in contact, true contact, other contactees can identify this very easily. Even if you leave space, if you get out of here, it's going to be a very strange thing because your atomic structure is going to change. There's parts of you that will always be different when you're exposed to these folks, when you go outside of here. So
no, but I'm asking you. I'm asking you directly. This is friend to friend. If you and I are walking around Venice Beach, how would you? I mean, you're telling me that you would be able to go, Jimmy, right there.
I'm telling you that there are folks that can do this.
Right.
There are even means to detect it. But I'm telling you that the only means I know to do it is when you meet somebody and you just get this feeling. Especially if they tell you, that was the indicator for me. This one particular person told me of their interesting abilities and things and where they're from. But if you encounter someone, you just know that there's something highly unique and different about them. That there is something just a little bit different. Like if you were to see Valiant Thor tomorrow, you remember the pictures of Valiant Thor? You just looked at Valiant Thor and he looked extraordinary.
Well, he does in American Horror Story. For sure. How many, the hybrid program is front and center today. I mean, this is discussed like out in the open constantly. How advanced is this program? Is it millions of hybrids walking on this planet? Is it 10,000? Is it 5,000? Is it every other person?
Well, I would say that we have a very effective biogenetic program running right now. And you can't travel unless you participate in it. So I'd say we have a lot of hybrids walking around now.
Okay, but that's a political answer. But how advanced is the hybrid program today?
Well, I would say that, it depends how you want to look at this. You got a lot of people running around these ET conferences and places you and I have been at. Almost every UFO conference you go to, you got at least 5 people you can count on your hand that are coming up to talk about being a hybrid. I think it's more common than not, and I believe that a lot of people have these either experiences where they remember being abducted or they've had some kind of experiment done with them. I think it's been very common at one point or the other, but the question is, what degree has it been done at? Like how much has people been crossed with them? I don't have exact numbers to answer your question, but I do believe that what we're seeing now and what we will see over this decade are part of larger biogenetic changes where we're going to see that the whole world becomes a hybridized race. And maybe you might see that we might have more sterility and infertility in 5 years. You might see a different type of human being. You might see certain upgrades that we get. We might be very different already in the changes that we're getting.
Now, what about a home DNA alien testing kit? Right? Are we gonna? I'm serious. You do nail. You send it in. Oh, okay. You're a hybrid. Is that kind of DNA changes where we would be able to have identifiers that would separate us from normies?
I think Grant Cameron was working on something like that. Some kind of a DNA testing experiment or looking at people who have been abducted. But, that's a great idea. There's lots of people that hypothesize that RHO negative blood and things like that would be very unique markers. I think that if we could identify those markers, why not? The Fade to Black should be the first place to put it in the store.
Yeah, I can see our next sponsor, alien DNA testing kit.
Alien and me.
Yeah, alien and me. Man, oh man, oh man. Okay, so what's coming up for you? What are you working on now? Are you shooting? I know that you're shooting a new documentary or a new series. Can you talk about that? And what else are you working on?
Well, yeah, we're working on something right now. Daniel Brinkley and I, we're going out to Mexico and we're filming a series on the afterlife. And we're also going to be doing a series over in Egypt or on the afterlife in Egypt. So we're doing this Afterlife Around the World series. And it's funny because Daniel, he calls himself the king of death. Mm-hmm. And he tells me he likes to stay in his lane over there. But the guy has literally traveled to so many places in the world like crazy. And he's been to Egypt like 31 times, which is crazy. And he's traveled with Zachariah Sitchin. He's best friends with Zahi Was. So it's so fun to hear those stories. But that's that. We have the Immortal Light Tour of Egypt. We have lots of different things going on in the terms of UFO stuff out in England. But I want to see. I still want to see that they. UFO conferences come back in full swing because people are talking, are we going to have UFO conferences next year? And they're looking at all these different variants. What do you think? You think we're going to go right back into the old seasons?
I would like to see it happen. I've got Conscious Life Expo coming up next month in February. I'm very excited about that. And there are a few conferences in the schedule for 2022, but it's certainly not like it was 2 and 3 years ago where I was doing, 8, 9, 10, 12 conferences a year. It's not that. And I just enjoy getting out there and hanging out and meeting everybody. And I truly miss that. I really do. And I know that at some point we just got to get back to normal. Right, where we just go, that's it. Enough is enough. We can't do this for forever. We can't live like this. We can't exist like this. We've got to get the normalcy back. And I don't know how we do it, but maybe it's just that's it. Right? That's it. Enough is enough. That's it. That's it. We need to move on from this. So I'm excited to see you at some point in 2022. I know that we will. Considering how much we've hung out in the past, we need to get back together as soon as possible, Johnny. Thank you so much.
And definitely we will, Jimmy. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to all the Fader Knights. We love you. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Happy New Year.
Hope you all have a happy New Year.
Yeah, man. I can't believe it. That's it. It's next week, New Year's Eve. Johnny, behave and be well. Give my best to Daniel, and safe travels back to Europe. I'll talk to you.
Thank you, brother.
What a great show tonight. Thank you, Jonny Enoch. And all of Johnny's links, of course, are over at jimmychurchradio.com. What a great conversation tonight. Johnny, stay right there. We'll do some after show, little conversation between us. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2021 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, Fader Christmas. Tomorrow night right here. So I'll see everybody tomorrow. Until then, be safe. It's time to fade to black.